It's really something. When you peel back the layers of Paul's story, it starts to look like his image as the poor, dusty wanderer is, kind of a myth.
Absolutely. I mean, how does a guy, supposedly living off bread crusts, manage to travel thousands of miles, rent rooms in big cities like Rome and Corinth, and survive shipwrecks and arrests without a steady income?
Exactly. It's like, imagine a tent maker who says, I'm working with my hands, yet ends up surrounded by wealthy patrons, royal insiders, people tied to Caesar's household, and then somehow manages these epic
Yeah,
journeys.
right.
It really shakes up that humble image we tend to have.
Right, and when you dig into his letters, like in First Thessalonians or Corinthians, he insists he worked night and day, so as not to be a burden on anyone. But then, how does that square with having patrons like Lydia and Phoebe backing him?
Yeah, it's almost paradoxical. I mean, the texts do show him claiming independence, like he scouted out tent making or leather work to support himself. But then you have these details like in Romans 16 and other passages, which read almost like a financial map of influential elites backing him.
Exactly. And there's that interesting bit in Philippians where Paul thanks the church multiple times for sending gifts. That suggests, a kind of ongoing financial partnership rather than a one-off charity.
Yes. And then there's this careful balancing act he seems to have pulled off. On one hand, he accepts support from communities, like the believers in Macedonia, but on the other hand, he prided himself on refusing money from certain churches. It's like he wanted enough help to keep going, but not so much that he'd be controlled by any one faction.
Yeah, right. It's that tightrope walk between independence and survival. And yet, his travels show signs of organized logistics, chartered ships, paid scribes, managing bonds for his arrests. It's hard to believe that could all be done on a modest artisan's wage, isn't it?
Exactly. Scholars like Jerome Murphy O'Connor and Wayne Meeks have pointed out that even the best artisan's salary would barely cover all those expenses. So, this suggests Paul had additional, well-hidden sources of income.
And that's where his network of supporters comes in. I mean, have you noticed names like Jason, who even paid his bail? And then there's Erastus, the city treasurer, and Gaius, who hosted entire congregations in his home. Those aren't exactly the names of struggling laborers.
Right. It almost feels like his circle was a who's who of urban elites, people who had real coin, property, and influence. And then there's that intriguing mention of those of
Yeah,
Caesar's
wow.
household. That single phrase has sparked centuries of discussion about just who was really pulling the strings.
It's almost as if Paul wasn't just an independent tent maker, but operating with a secret sponsorship from within the empire. It's kind of a head-scratcher, isn't it?
Absolutely. And this idea only deepens when you look at the colossal financial operation he managed later, the collection for the poor in Jerusalem. Now, on the surface, it's charity, but when you dig deeper, it's like a well-oiled fundraising machine.
Yeah, right. David J. Downs even called that his most ambitious fundraising campaign. It had auditors, regional representatives, and carefully timed deliveries to Jerusalem. That's more than just a missional effort. It's organizational genius.
Yes, it's almost as if he built a non-profit that not only funded his travels but also unified his Gentile churches and earned him legitimacy among Jewish believers. It's like he turned fundraising into an art form.
And yet that raises a, interesting question. If Paul had all these hidden financial connections, wasn't he risking his independence by being indebted to some powerful patrons?
That's a valid point. It seems he deliberately walked that line, accepting enough support to survive but always ensuring he wasn't overtaken by local factions. He even refused money at times to keep his mission and his message pure.
I follow that. But here's what puzzles me, though. If he truly had such access and backing from influential circles, why wouldn't that, alter how we view the authenticity of his message? Could it be that his financial independence was more of an illusion?
That's a strong critique, and I think it does challenge traditional views. It's like Beneath that image of a struggling artisan, there was someone who managed a sophisticated financial network, maybe even a sort of secret royal envoy, as some scholars suggest.
Yeah,
It really forces us to think about where his true independence lay.
exactly. And when you put together his access to high-level figures, speaking directly with governors like Felix and Festus, even Agrippa II, it makes you wonder if his journeys were backed by, more than just local community support.
Right. It opens up the possibility that his mission was underwritten by, dare I say, imperial funds, or at least by a network that extended into the upper echelons of society. It's like a financial safety net woven through the fabric of the early church.
And then there's the political brilliance of the fundraising campaign. It wasn't simply about cash flow, it also smoothed over tensions with Jewish leaders in Jerusalem. Kind of like modern-day diplomacy through generosity, right?
Absolutely. It served as both a financial operation and a diplomatic strategy, uniting disparate groups under one banner. And think about it. This legacy of financial maneuvering eventually helped propel Christianity from a fringe movement to the state religion of Rome.
That's incredible. Right. And that journey is, really something. From a man supposedly scraping by on his own labor, to a figure whose movement was, in part, funded by the elite of his day. It's like history's ultimate plot twist.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder if our traditional narrative of Paul as a self-sufficient, impoverished martyr is, oversimplified. Maybe he was a savvy operator, leveraging both grassroots and elite financial support to spread his message.
Indeed. His dual role is almost like running a modern startup, with a lean mission funded on one side by angel investments from local churches, and on the other, secret strategic backing from powerful insiders.
Right. It's like his mission had layers. On the surface, he preached self-sufficiency, while underneath he was orchestrating an intricate financial network that spanned from modest artisan skills to elite patronage.
Yeah, and that, I think, is what makes his story so endlessly fascinating. Each time you reread the letters, you uncover new hints, like who exactly was behind those mysterious, supportive names, and what was the real cost of his lengthy journeys.
Exactly. And one more twist. It's even been proposed that some of his financial maneuvers might have been part of a larger, almost secret political strategy. Imagine, a man using his network not just to fund his travels, but to negotiate peace and
that's a
secure
wild
his
thought.
mission's longevity.
Wild indeed. It really turns our standard narrative on its head. Rather than viewing him solely as a devoted, struggling preacher, we might see him as a strategic mastermind with a hidden financial empire backing his ideals.
Yes, exactly. And think about the implications. His movement, supported by these elite relationships, eventually evolved into the state religion of Rome. The trajectory from a so-called impoverished missionary to a leader with connections reaching for imperial gold is, just astonishing.
Right. It's almost cinematic. Sort of like an ancient thriller where the underdog turns out to have a secret identity, well funded by the powers that be.
Yeah, it's like watching a hidden plot unravel. A tentmaker doubling as a financial strategist with ties that run deep into the Roman elite.
Totally. But, while this perspective is fascinating, I do wonder if we're overemphasizing the financial backing. Could it be that Paul was simply resourceful, turning a modest craft into a means to survive, without necessarily being a royal envoy?
That's a fair challenge. I mean, there is room to argue that despite these hints of elite support, Paul did work with his hands and wanted to maintain a degree of independence. But the sheer logistics of his journey, like paying for ships, legal defenses, and even personal aids, suggest that his financial network must have been, extraordinarily robust.
Yeah, I see. It's definitely a balance. On one hand, his insistence on self-reliance. On the other, the undeniable evidence of elite patronage. The truth probably was a blend of both, right?
Precisely. It appears he was very much aware of the need to both maintain his credibility and leverage the resources around him. It's almost as if his public narrative of hardship was a deliberate strategy to keep his spiritual message pure, even while he enjoyed, significant financial backing.
That makes sense. And this duality, this tension between independence and elite support, is what makes his story so captivating. It compels us to reread his texts and question our long-held assumptions about what it means to be, truly independent.
Exactly. And it also shows us that the early church was, in many ways, as much about complex financial and political strategy as it was about faith. That humble image of Paul might just be one of history's greatest disguises.
And it's a reminder. History is rarely black and white. The more we dig in, the more shades of gray we find, even in figures we thought we understood completely.
Absolutely. So, whether you see him as a self-sufficient artisan or a shrewd operator with imperial backing, Paul's story challenges our ideas about survival, independence, and the true cost of spreading a revolutionary message.
Yeah, and that, right there, is what makes these ancient narratives still so, vibrant and relevant today.
No doubt about it. It's like the past is calling us to re-examine what we think we know. And that's always an adventure worth taking.
Indeed, thanks for this deep dive. It's been eye-opening to listen, and it definitely makes you want to, reconsider the real story behind one of history's most influential figures.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep questioning the narratives and savoring those hidden histories. They often have more surprises than we ever imagined.